My favorite little corner that I've picked is these three right here. This is, there's plenty more where this came from, the dangers of petrification, and then this untitled piece above it that is just a bunch of childlike graphs. And there's a number of reasons that I love them, that I've grown to love them. For one, I've used this one over and over again in the tours, and the kids have made their own. So they've used letraset and random objects, and they've put them together. But when I bring them in here, what I love about this room is he's talking about our impulse to categorize, to name things, to hold them down in words and boxes. And while this looks like a seemingly meaningful arrangement of objects, it is in fact just things he's found on his studio floor that he's glued to a board and he's named and titled "There's Plenty More Where This Came From." And the kids have had so much fun with this, and I love that it speaks to that impulse, but also the dangers of doing that between people, of boxing and categorizing. In that way, I love that the curators have put these three together in this corner, because in the dangers of petrification, he's taken all of these stones that have an uncanny resemblance to food, and then he's put them under glass and he's named them things like petrified ice cream, petrified salami, petrified chocolate cake. And I love, every time I look at this piece, I think of something that Jimmie Durham said, and that's that all official history is just a bunch of silly lies. And every time I look at this piece, I think of his words, but I also think about archaeology and how we find these artifacts and we build these huge stories around these simple artifacts that we find. And I also think about perception and how everything can be something else. And finally, my utmost favorite for a lot of reasons is the silly graphs above the dangers of petrification. Even though it's untitled and there's a bunch of titles in the brackets, they're all very childlike line drawings, but I'm really struck by, over time, how something so simple, such a simple shape and a few lines, can become an icon, and the authority of the graph and statistics. And I always think, well, Jimmie is just a funny man, so there's just funny language all the way through here, and he's always interrupting himself. But I always think of that joke about the statistician who drowned while crossing a river whose average depth was 4 feet. And all these kinds of silly things. What I love about Jimmie Durham's exhibition is that it's wildly associative. And so not only are you making connections while you're looking at the things, but the longer or the more times you come back, the more connections you're making between the pieces.